and welcome to Business Sense. I'm Ralph Rivas. For today's episode, we have Oliver Tan, President and CEO of Citicore Energy REIT. As you guys know, the company just went public and their shares just went on sale. Now, for those who are unable to get their intended allocation or want more shares from this latest IPO, you can always get the shares on listing day. Now, Mr. Tan, thanks so much for joining us. Now, for those who want to invest into Citicore REIT, tell us about the portfolio.
Hi. First of all, good afternoon to you, Ralph, and to all the watching your show this afternoon. Yeah, so we have our sponsor, Citicore Renewable Energy Corporation, has a robust 1.5 gigawatt pipeline projects. This is on top of the 8 existing operating solar power plant. So these 1.5 gigawatt or 1,500 megawatt of new solar plants, we will build within the next 5 years. They are at various stages of development. Portion of the pipeline projects are disclosed in the REIT prospectus under the reinvestment plan of the sponsor.
Now, as for the proceeds, can you discuss a little more any upcoming projects that will be funded by the IPO, expansion plans? I don't know, any projects that will be included in the portfolio in the future?
Yeah, so proceeds from the primary share sale will be used by the company to acquire 2 land assets. These are the Bulacan and Cotabato assets from the sponsor immediately after IPO. And the proceed from the secondary share sale will be used by the sponsor to partially fund the pipeline projects included in the reinvestment plan. Several projects were identified. I think it's around 10 projects were identified there, of which the first 2 projects, the 6.5 megawatt solar rooftop in Freeport area of Bataan, and the phase 1 and phase 2 of Arayat, Mexico solar farm. So these 2 projects we aim to complete by within the year, and we aim to inject it into the REITco in the near term to grow the asset portfolio of CREIT as well as the earnings.
Now, you mentioned 2 areas, Cotabato and
Bulacan.
Bulacan. So why those 2?
Yeah, so these 2 are already operating since 2016. These 2 are what we call the FIT plants, feed-in tariff plants. We are selling, or the tenants are selling the electricity to the government via a long-term offtake contracts.
Now, what's unique about Citicore REIT is that this is the country's first REIT which features renewable energy projects. So tell us, Mr. Tan, what are the targets for this year, and maybe targets for the medium or long term? Give us the figures.
Yeah, so the projected dividend for 2022 earnings is at 18 centavos, and this would translate to 7% dividend yield based on the IPO price of 2 pesos and 55 per share. The projected dividend for next year earnings would be at 19 centavos per share, which will translate to 7.4% dividend yield based on the IPO price. And this will continue to grow as the sponsor build and complete new plants and inject it into the REITco.
So, what's the outlook in the renewable energy space, Mr. Tan? How big will renewable energy get? If you can give us an idea what will happen, or what's your vision for the renewable energy space, maybe this decade?
Yeah, you know, the global shift to greener energy has a long way to go. Locally, our Department of Energy has come up with the Renewable Portfolio Standard policy. Essentially, this policy requires all distribution utilities to source portion of its supply from renewable energy sources. I believe the target is 50% from renewable sources by year 2030. Where we are today, we are at 20%. Just to give you some figures, based on the DOE estimate or forecast, by 2030, renewable energy contribution to the total demand is roughly to be at around 34,000 megawatt, of which 14,000 megawatt of the 34,000 will be solar power. The estimated installed capacity of solar to date is roughly at around 15 to 1800 thereabout. So that gives you a long runway, 12,000 to 13,000 megawatt in the next 8 to 10 years. Plus, you have the continuous evolution of energy storage system. If this energy storage system can complement solar power, it now expand the application of solar power beyond its day peak market.
Mhm. Now, if you can indulge me, Mr. Tan, what is Citicore doing to maximize the opportunities out there? What's the strategy for the country to for you to help uh, expand that percentage that would be shifting more into renewables?
Yeah. So we are with our pipeline projects, we are aggressively pursuing various land that are suitable for solar farms. We have this. We come up with we pioneered this Agrosolar concept, wherein we don't displace farmers just because we will be converting this agriculture land into solar farm. So we try to coexist with the agriculture intent of the land. In fact, we are very careful to select idle agriculture land and coexist with the farmers by planting high value crops underneath our solar panel table along the aisle to augment the income of the farmers. So essentially, we coexist solar farm with the agriculture purpose.
Mm. Now, what do you consider are the main challenges and considerations in pursuing green projects? And what's this notion na mas expensive daw going green? Do you agree with that?
Not really, because of the evolution of the technology, not only for solar but also for wind and all the other renewable energy sources. Uh, in our case, solar has already become at parity with fossil fuel like coal plant. Okay, now you add the technology of energy storage system, you now can shift solar from being an intermittent day peak plant into a more um, you basically smoothen the output into a base load. So it's not really expensive anymore to go green. Um, Challenges, you know, in our country to build one solar plant, based on my last count, I could be wrong, but based on my last count, you would need to secure up to 250 permits. So
Wow. So
challenges,
that's really something.
yeah.
That's
So,
something that the government needs to work on, right?
yes, you have to
Masyadong
navigate.
marami, masyadong marami. Now,
Yeah.
I want to ask you this, Mr. Tan. This pandemic, we've seen lots of energy companies taking a hit financially. What's your outlook at this point? Is demand already back to pre-pandemic levels?
You know, 2020 was really bad, obviously, because we are on ECQ lockdown. You saw the spot market price dip, but I mean, who were spared from 2020 pandemic?
Mm,
I guess the renewable energy is one of the industry that was proven resilient, least affected by the pandemic. Last year, 2021, we're still technically speaking, 2021 is still a pandemic year. We've seen the demand recover. In fact, the spot market price last year has already exceed the price level of pre-pandemic. Okay, now we are seeing, as we open up, as we catch up, as we recover from the pandemic this year, demand is expected to grow, and supply need to catch up. So I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we need a lot of supply. We need a lot of investment in renewable energy to catch up for the expected demand.
Mm. Mr. Tan, can I ask if Citicore already has a figure on how much you're gonna spend for the next, I don't know, 5 years on renewable energy projects? If you, or you know, if it's okay to ask.
Yeah, well, if we are to use our IPO proceed as a number, we're raising 6 billion. So that's more or less the that will flow back under the reinvestment plan, right?
Mm. Now, okay, going back into the issue of the pandemic, what would you consider your greatest learnings in this pandemic? And has the pandemic affected priorities of the company? Maybe shifted priorities here and there, uh, thought of investing more on a particular aspect as compared to pre-pandemic times. What did you learn this pandemic?
Yeah. I think this pandemic taught a lot of CEO out there, a lot of businesses, that you need to be agile, okay? Because for you to survive such what they call a black swan, unexpected crisis, your company has to be agile to make the necessary adjustment. So I think luckily our product is power, being an essentials. Hence, uh, being an essentials would mean we're more resilient to the economic cyclicality. I think other than being agile, the learnings that this pandemic brought about is, you need to take care of your employees. I think that's number one. You need to ensure that they are healthy, because at the end of the day, businesses, you're as good as your people, right? If you have sick employees, I mean, you can only do so much. So you need to take care of your employees, and uh, investment in video facilities like the Zoom and all the other available facilities. Business can operate without borders. I mean, this pandemic shows you that you can still continue doing your business off-site. You don't have to really be confined in your office space, right?
Mm. Now, I asked this to the other CEOs that I talked. Before the pandemic, they were quite hesitant in in a remote setup, flexible working space, things like that. Zoom, because they're concerned about productivity. Now, with the pandemic, did that make you a believer that remote work can work, or were you always a believer of remote work?
We have been a believer of remote work. You know that we have 8 solar plants geographically spread across the Philippines. We have one in Mindanao, two in Visayas, five in Luzon. All our plants are equipped with real-time SCADA system that you can access. I personally, from time to time, access the uh, production in our solar plant remotely through internet. Okay, so we have invested in infrastructure that you can work remotely. Uh, at the start of the pandemic, I think a lot of the businesses try to adjust with this new work from home setup, but a lot of them realize na it can work actually. Although for a start, maybe productivity, there was a dip in productivity, obviously, because you cannot control the distraction inside for the employees working in their home, right? But later on they try to adjust, and I think we're looking a paradigm shift in terms of work arrangement. Um, I think work from home or partial work in office, work from home will be become the norm.
Mm. Now, going back into Citicore projects and Citicore REIT, any partnerships and team ups that we should be looking forward to? And what are the considerations and any companies that you're looking at partnering with?
We're always open to partnership, whether locally or offshore companies, as long as there's strategic fit in that partnership. We always believe that we can do more through partnership than doing it alone. Having said that, we have a partnership with AC Energy. We're still looking to partner with the other conglomerates who would, again, as I said, who we think can be a strategic fit to the growth path of Citicorp.
Mm. Now, Mr. Tan, very briefly, if you can discuss that current partnership with AC Energy.
Essentially, it's a 50-50 joint venture partner to jointly develop solar power plants um, with the target of reaching 1,000 megawatt in the next 5 years.
Hmm. I guess a lot of projects that we're looking forward to, and hopefully a greener energy mix in the coming years. Again, thanks so much for your time, Citicore Energy REIT President and CEO Oliver Tan, and I'm Ralph Rivas. This has been another episode of Business Sense. Thanks for watching.